to this October 2016 chapter meeting of the Tennessee Valley chapter of the Adirondack Mountain Club. Probably most of you know my name is Bill Lingenfels. I'm the chair of the chapter. Do we have any new members here, visitors, just to identify yourselves? Maybe some of the chapter members could just introduce themselves and welcome our visitors. Welcome. Let's see, a couple of things here. Really just two short announcements, I think. I don't see anybody else lined up here to provide any. Rich, do you have something to say tonight? Or?
Like you do.
You do?
I can always talk.
Okay. A couple of brief announcements, though. First of all, you can see behind me right here that the lodge trip is coming on up. Bill, did you want to talk about that? Sure.
Hi, my name is Bill Schweinfurth, and I am in charge of the trip this year. And thanks to our webmaster, the registration site is open, so you're welcome to go in. The information is there online. If those of you that haven't been on a lodge trip before, it's a great place to hang out with first-timers as well as very experienced people that we can do anything from day snowshoeing. You can do some various things in the high peaks, including some winter mountaineering, or you can just hang out by the fire and enjoy Lake Placid. So it's a great trip to bond with the rest of the chapter.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Shay and I have been on this trip a number of times in the past. In fact, that's how we first met. And it's a great time. It's for those of you who haven't been up there in the past, and for those of you who have never been to Adirondack Lodge, it really is a wonderful place, and in the wintertime it's magical. Let's see, what else we have? The t-shirts, the 50th anniversary t-shirts that folks have ordered are available now, and they'll be for sale at the bookstore at the end of the meeting, I think, right? Right. That's right. We are not taking any more orders, okay? So who knows, in another 25 years, there's going to be collector's items. Assuming a t-shirt has held up after 50 washings. And I have one other quick thing here is to urge all of you to make sure that the club has got your correct email address. If you aren't getting fairly regular pieces of mail from them, very likely that's because you don't have a correct email address on file with them. So I urge you to just go to adk.org. There is a member portal right there. You can just check to see what they have on file for you, and please correct it if necessary. Okay, it's one of our better ways of connecting with everybody in the chapter. Let's see, Rich, did you have something also?
Sure. I wasn't planning on it, but you're obviously
I'm hurting here.
So we're getting set to kick off for the 20th.
Wow.
So I think Don and I have been involved in 19 of those 20. Seems that way. Anyhow, it will be, the kickoff meeting will be at Tom and Donna's. It'll be the first Monday after the next chapter meeting, which will be November 12th, 11th, or 13th.
First Monday after the next chapter.
First Monday after the chapter meeting. I'm pretty sure it's the 12th.
Okay.
If you are interested, want to find out more about the expo, come along. Coming to the meeting doesn't commit you to anything other than sharing your name and having dinner with us. So if you're interested, catch me after the meeting or send me an email. It's expochair@adk-gvc.org. Love to have you there.
Yeah, let me just recommend that too. you know, just watching what was going on at last year's expo, it really was amazing to see the amount of work that was done by this great group of volunteers who pulled the whole thing off. And clearly it was a great time for them to just be able to work together. It's a great event, especially if you're interested in getting to know some more members of the chapter. It's a great way to get involved with it. And finally, I think we are ready to do our program.
No, we're not.
No? Oh, I'm sorry. Damn! I've forgotten this more than once, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
I apologize, Jackson.
Are you trying to put me on?
So please, Jackson, take it over.
Hi, everybody! Oh, you got it before, man. Lights are coming up. Oh, oops. I asked for that. So, how many of you have never been to the bookstore table?
You got one paper.
Guess me. Just one or two hands. That's remarkable. That's really good news. So, basically, all of you know about books and T-shirts and bandanas and maps and all sorts of good stuff. Well, what did I omit? That's it. That's it. Of course, I was giving it away. So here is the 2017 ADK calendar. And of course, the price is being held at the number I've offered it for a number of years now, and that is $11 for you. So these are available naturally after the program at the bookstore table. And I hope that you'll come over and buy a few. Okay. A lot of people and very few pieces of paper. Bring them up. Yes, sir. Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Clean.
Okay. If you put Mr. Clean on here, we're going to honor that.
I've never won anything.
Okay. Pick a color. Any. Like that? So Doug is choosing the green map pen. So I decided that will serve you well. Thank you so much, Doug. Congratulations. Thanks, everybody.
So for anybody that didn't joke or the title, that was Doug's handle when we
And actually, one more thing. Peter Collins just reminded me, of course, that coming up in December, for our December program on December 14th, we're going to have a special program to commemorate our 50th anniversary of our chapter. Okay? I hope that most of you are aware of the fact that we were established in 1966, and we wanted to do something to recognize that. There'll be more information coming up in the November Geneseo. Information will also be available online. You'll be able to register for this. We're going to ask people to do that because we are, in fact, going to provide refreshments, and we want to make sure we have a good understanding of how many people are coming. So information regarding registration for that will be available through the Genesee and online. Again, the date is December 14th, and we start at the usual time, 6:30. Okay? And finally, our programs chair and my wife, Shane Gafford, will introduce our speaker.
Thank you for the turnout tonight for this bicycling program, especially for those of you who are not bicyclists. And maybe Berch's program tonight will be an inspiration to you. Bob is doing the program on his, well, he calls it on the website, his Southern Tier trip, but his, it is the Southern States. He bicycled from Jackson, Florida to Austin, Texas. And he describes himself in his bio on his blog, which is on the Crazy Guy on a Bike website. There's hundreds of blogs on there for these bicyclists. And Bob has posted, he's got 3 full blogs on there. Besides tonight's program on the Southern States, he's got one on Quebec and another one on the Erie Canal. But of his 3, the Southern States, the program that he's going to talk about and show you photos tonight, he's had over 25,000 hits in that program. So you're lucky to meet him, this famous person. And by the way, he just finished a bike trip. He hardly mentions it in his books. I guess it's rather small. He just bicycled the end of September from New York City through the Catskills back to Rochester. And I kind of sweated it out when he told me he was leaving. You better be back in time. Regardless of the weather, you get back there. He only had his bicycle to get back. But he describes himself as a, I think it was past life natural food seller, panorama photographer, vegetarian, fiddler, early radio enthusiast, tree lover, and of course hiker, Adirondack hiker, including he is a 46er, and cross-country skier. And among his hikes and treks, he's trekked in Nepal, hiked Scotland, England, and Norway, above the Arctic Circle. And I've skied and hiked with Bob, and they're never in populated places. He finds the out-of-the-way routes or places. One of the reasons I was really interested in this program is because you get to see a bicycle trip through the eyes of a newbie soloist. And this trip was not to be a solo trip, but suddenly and unexpectedly, if it was going to be a go, it was going to have to be a solo trip, and he'll probably tell you why that was, as to what happened to the one who was this very seasoned solo cross-country bicyclist, as to what had happened. But anyway, it was particularly interesting because doing it unexpectedly and at last minute, doing a solo trip of that extent, and I think it was about 1,497 miles over 29 days. When it's sudden and unexpected, and it's your first one, you don't have all the equipment that you might need, or clothing. So it's a great learning from his lessons, and then what you do on the road. Well, you search, and if you can't find, then you improvise. If you can't improvise, because you don't have anything to improvise with, then you make do, you survive, and you enjoy it anyway. So I thought that would be encouraging to people who have never done a solo trip, to see from Bob's perspective of things that he discovered while doing it, and he did his blog every night. So this isn't later written in dramatic form. It was on the spot what he was doing and what he was learning. And by doing it solo, doing it that way course, you increase your adventure and you boost your stories when you've done a solo trip. And you actually boost your bragging rights also, although Bob is very self-deprecating on his website, and he did not exercise those rights. But it is a humorous site, and I think he's going to give you the link to the crazy guy on the bike, his link to this story. So let Bob now tell the story.
This folder here, and my volume is good for people, maybe? How's it sound? Let's see what's on this machine here. Thank you, Shay, and thanks everyone for coming. This is the route I took 2.5 years ago, and starting in Jacksonville, the method of getting there was using Amtrak, so we trained to New York City, then changed trains to Jacksonville. Method of leaving Austin, train to Chicago, train back to Rochester. I'm going to show you the whole loop, not just the bicycling, because that'll be pretty quick, but it's kind of the alternative way of seeing the country theme. There it is. The base map here is Adventure Cycling Association, and this is actually their route. I used maps from them, and they have mapped the whole country. These are some of the other routes they have. The name of the route is the Southern Tier, and this is the first half of it. Originally, yes, I was going to do the whole across the country, which is 3,000 miles by this route, and it started out of the blue at a January ADK meeting, 2014. Gretchen Schaus. Gretchen, are you here tonight? No. Okay. She had been across the country several times and many other trips, and asked me if I wanted to go on this ride with her across the country. Sounded good. I wasn't sure though about being down in the southern states. I'd never been in the deep south. And then the western half of this ride is desert and mountains and rather challenging, I thought. I had to research it, and I did that. And after a week, I had read many journals and blogs of people who have done it, and it seemed like a pretty wild and crazy thing, and okay, I'll try it. You know, as long as I'm going with her. But she ends up hurting her knee in a cross-country ski thing at the end of January, but says, I'll be fine. Our target date for leaving is March 1st plus or minus 10 days. There's a narrow window. People do it in the winter, but you'll probably get snowed on. And in the summer, it's almost too hot in Texas and some of the other western states. So this was a good time of year. It's in between activities up here. You might have spring fever, get out of town. So it sounded, so anyway, I was all psyched up for it. By the end of February, her knee still wasn't getting better. So I had to decide. I was ready, I was psyched, but I came up with doing half of it, 30 days, and optionally I could continue, send home for the other maps, or I could even end it early. if I'm using trains, Amtrak can't pick you up anywhere down the south. They used to have a train that went all across there, but New Orleans would be a takeout spot if I was really having a bad time. But, just quickly, the other side of the country, in case anybody wants to do this. The first half, you're never over 500 feet elevation. And it's lots of convenience stores. You're often in the country. Adventure cycling keeps you away from cities, mostly. You go through Austin and Phoenix. Those are almost the only two big cities. You don't go through New Orleans, really. So here, though, after Austin, there are some serious hills here. They're not really high area, but there's rivers that are cutting valleys through down to the Rio Grande. Get to the Rio Grande, you're at 1,000 feet, and by El Paso, you're at 4,000 feet. You go through the Fort Davis Mountains, it's over 6,000 feet. There is a way to go around the mountains, but you'll have an 80-mile ride with nothing. So there's a trade-off there. You follow the Rio Grande for just a little bit, and then you cut into the mountains, and the high point is 8,200 feet, Emery Pass. And then in the Gila Mountains, there's a side loop you can take if you're really enjoying the mountains. And there's some 6,000-foot pass and a 4,000-foot pass. By the time you get to Phoenix, you're back to 1,000 feet. And crossing into California, you are below sea level for over 40 miles. But the last 100 miles to San Diego is a big climb up to 4,000 feet and up and down a few times. So and then you have a great downhill all the way to the beach in San Diego. But a lot of people do this the other way around, in which case you have a very hard first 2 days. Starting the other way, it's totally flat the first day, and the winds don't really make too much of a difference down here. It's not so westerly as up here, I'd say. They will come all directions, and they'll be, especially in the west, strong. So this is hard. I didn't do it. I don't know that I ever will, but that's the whole thing. And a lot of people go for the whole thing. This is the whole adventure cycling network. So you can make up routes, piecing together with their different routes. I'll just show you two of them. The purple one up here from Washington, the very northwest corner, Anacortes to Bar Harbor. It's called the Northern Tier, and it goes right through Rochester. So if you see some people with panniers on the canal, it might be cross countries. It goes from Lockport to Palmyra. It actually uses the canal. The other route is this brown line. The Trans-America Trail was the original adventure cycling route back in 1976. Before they were called adventure cycling, it was Bike Centennial. And this was the Bike Centennial route that people invented, and it was possibly only a one-year event, but some people wanted to keep it going, and it's turned into this. So they're a pretty big organization now. They map these routes, they sell you the maps, they have a store that will sell you other bicycle things, and they do bicycle advocacy, lobbying, working on a numbered bike route system for the whole nation. And their mission is to inspire and empower you to go on a bicycle tour. So they're good guys. Some people, they just buy the maps. And these were the maps that I used. They're 7 segments. I needed the 4 on the right. And typical map on one side has these little, oops, something's a little sensitive here. Oh, sorry. Let's see if I can focus in. There's, each little map folds for your map pocket on your handlebar bag, presumably, and covers 30 or 40 miles, has eastbound or westbound directions,
has icons of services, and let's see, north is not always going to be up. And you get kind of used to that, although I had another map just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on overall. The other side has, maybe it has an elevation profile. The eastern three maps do not have an elevation profile because it goes up and down, but it's no big deal. When there's big deals like this, these are those rivers cutting through to the Rio Grande. This is the hill, this is Austin, this is the hill country. Then they give you an elevation profile. They give you some cultural background, they give you some climate data, some information about the roads, index map, and then there's details about the icons on the other side in terms of campgrounds and libraries, post offices, bike shops, hotels, and so you use that pretty much. They keep an updated version on the web, so because it does change a lot. On this ride, though, I also used this, and I'm just wondering. Let's see, who in the audience is a member of Warm Showers? We got two families, essentially, yes. There's about 50 points on the map here in Monroe County. So I use this 5 times, and this is bicyclists hosting bicyclists, sort of a trusted network that you sign up for it. Whoops. The little bar here is very sensitive. As a host, you cannot charge the guests. You keep a profile online. People can decide by your profile and your feedback whether they want to host you and what level. They can let you set up a tent in their yard and use the bathroom, or they can give you a nice bed and feed you hearty dinner and breakfast. So I used it 5 times, like I said, and it worked out really good. And this is the other internet resource. Shay mentioned this, Crazy Guy on a Bike. I looked at this on that week after Berch asked me if I wanted to go, and there now are actually, I think, 12,000 journals and articles. Most of those are journals. I have 3 of them. There were 10,000 when I did it, and the search box up here, type in anything, anywhere in the world, and you will find people bicycling there, and you might get hooked if you have spare time. Some of the journals are really well written and have really good photographs. And for me to keep a blog there, I felt it was challenging to keep the bar up. So, in fact, this is the homepage of the ride I'm telling you about now. I took on the persona of Bobby, and I called my bike Sporty because it's a Scott Sportster, and I thought I needed some catchy title, and this is what I came up with. Yeah, it's kind of tentative, the title, because I really didn't know if I was going to bail out at 1,000 miles or maybe even do the whole thing. So I think you can find this if you wanted to by just Googling Bobby and Sporty, maybe bicycle, but your mileage might vary on that. So let's see, this is what I had with me. Obviously a bicycle, and I did not have a special bike for touring. You can buy them. This is a bike I had that was good enough. It was strong. A lot of bikes would not be able to be loaded down very well. Had good gearing. I had disc brakes, which is an advantage. I had a suspension fork, which was not needed, and extra weight. That was a negative. I had good tires on it. And it was very comfortable. That's important. So I'm weighing in maybe 4 pounds heavier than I would have to be if I bought a different bike, and maybe if I went across the country I would, but this worked. And at the end of the ride I decided I'll use it again, and I have done several other tours with it. I bought some stuff for the ride, but mostly the stuff I had. I did buy a different sleeping bag because I needed not a winter bag or a summer bag. And I bought this little cook stove, an Esbit alcohol cook stove, because Gretchen recommended it, and that was interesting. I cooked some meals with it. It weighs almost nothing. The fuel weighs more than the stove. So I am basically 70 pounds going down the road. And this is, before I was sure I was going to go, this is the one training ride. I only got one chance in the winter of 2014 to test the bike, go for a bike ride. You know, I have been doing cross-country skiing, so I felt healthy and strong, but I had one Sunday afternoon, put 25 miles on with 35 pounds of weight, and to see what it felt like, and dressed up, and let my muscles remember what bicycling is all about. And a few days later, I bought the train tickets for a week into the future. And that said it. I wasn't sure until I bought the train tickets I was going. And that was the day I started the blog. And they encourage you on the Crazy Guy site to, as soon as you know you're going, or thinking of going, actually start writing down your comments, because that's maybe interesting reading. And so that's what I did. This is 2 days before I left. My bike went out before me because the way the trains work in Rochester, there's 4 trains a day going each way, and only one train can do baggage, check baggage, which includes bicycles, and that's the 10 o'clock train. But I needed to leave on the 5:40 a.m. train to make my connection in New York for a Florida train. So the bike had to go down the day before to New York City. Then it would be on the same train to me on Florida, and it should be there when I get out there. I hope it is. So the bike box system that Amtrak has is pretty good. $25, you can get your bike anywhere in the country with your train ticket. The bike, all you have to do is take off your pedals and move the handlebars. And roll the bike into this big box. It's not like airlines where you have to almost disassemble your bike. And the shipping's actually only $10. The box is $15. So if you have a box left over from another trip, $10. Good deal. This is 1:30 in the morning, the day that I'm leaving. I just finished all the details of packing and trying to make sure I'm getting it right. I'm not really taking a lot. And these bags are packed really tight, and I'm going to be wearing my cold weather clothes. I really don't know what I'm going to do with the cold weather clothes when it gets warm, but I got it all, and I'm going to catch 3 hours of sleep and get up to get to the train station and maybe sleep on the train, but I didn't really sleep on the train. I like train rides too much. Let's pay attention. So this is taking off from the train, and this is another one of these. I'm practicing taking selfies. I've really done so much, but I saw everybody on the phones. They do this selfie thing. I better figure this out. This is what I was leaving, going down the Mohawk Valley. 20-degree weather, gloomy northeast winter. Coming into New York City, it's brightening up a bit, but the train is an hour and a half late, which is pretty common. And it means I had 25 minutes to get my train for Florida. And the conductor said, don't worry about it. And actually he was right, because they don't even put the track number up on the big board till about 15 minutes before the train leaves. And everybody's just hanging out, waiting for the board to change over with the track number. So I actually had a chance to get some New York City pizza for dinner and hop on the train. And yes, I go overnight, and the next morning, a little over 27 hours, we were in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. It is starting to rain, which I saw in the forecast. And I had about 22 miles to get to my warm shower post. I had pre-booked only the first 2 nights. I knew what I was doing. And the first one was a warm shower person, my first warm shower person. And they were the other side of Jacksonville. So I called them, and they said, "Oh, we'll come pick you up." I said, "No. I really need to do this training ride, make sure everybody's okay." All right. It started to rain some more, and I called them back, and they were actually halfway there. They knew this is Florida rain. It's heavy. I should be picked up. This is what the bike looks like right out of the box. So 0 miles this day. Got to their house and we watched the rain all day. But I had things to catch up on, maybe on the blog, and just trying to figure out. It took me a week to figure out how to pack the bags efficiently. I would be delayed every morning. Okay, so this is Florida. Florida's 500 miles on this route. A third of the whole thing. And got it right now. 11 nights in Florida. The color codes for the dots are, the blue is a warm shower. This is a purple, which maybe looks a lot like the brown, but this is purple. There's 2 of them, and that's a hostel of sorts. This is a real hostel. This is in Tallahassee, a kind of bike hostel. It's a unique little place. The brown dots are where I spent most of my trip, RV parks. I did not think I was going to be spending I thought I was going to spend half the time in motels. But it turns out I was total in motels 3 nights, and mostly camping. Or 5 warm shower places, 3 of them in Florida. The green here is a state park. And so from Jacksonville, I have to get to St. Augustine, the official start of the southern tier. And I'm going to use this yellow route, which is the Atlantic coast route, which comes down from Bear Harbor, Maine, all the way to ends in Key West. So I'm just going to be on that for about 30 miles. But first I have to get there. I pick a grapefruit in my host's yard, take a picture of my new friends and their dog, and navigate the artificial roadways and gated communities to the coast. I actually got lost and had to use the GPS on my tablet computer. But finally, I saw some different things that were picture-worthy, and this is the Intercoastal Waterway Bridge, so I'm getting close. I'm 4 miles from the ocean. That's kind of the big deal. Well, first I have to go on this little windy road with a lot of traffic. I actually used my blinker on it. This was a few miles of this. But Florida, see, they do have consideration of bicyclists. Florida is, let's say, better than Alabama and Mississippi from what I saw. And, okay, big deal. Atlantic Ocean, I did not dip my wheel as some bicyclists do. I thought a picture was good enough. But I hung out, enjoyed it, watched some teenagers doing their thing, and headed down Route 1A. Not a lot of views of the ocean. There's private property there, so when I did see it, there's a few parks and just viewpoints. This was one of them. It was interesting because 501 years before I was there, minus a month or so, Ponce de Leon was sailing offshore there with his 3 ships. And 501 years. So you get to stop and think. It was recorded in his journal, 30 degrees 8 minutes, so that's where I'm at. 30 degrees 8 minutes, we're what, 43 degrees up here now or something. There were these burned areas. I don't know for sure, but I think these were intentional burns to control invasive weeds or plants, you know. And St. Augustine, okay, it's the start of the southern tier. And historic city, a lot of historic buildings. And I was staying in this hostel that had a pirate theme. And it's your typical hostel, it's very cramped quarters, bunk room. My bike is on the back balcony because there's no space inside. But it's a friendly place. And I had dinner in the town and walked around the town, enjoyed. It's summer down here, it's nice. And next morning, the hostel comes with a free pancake breakfast. And normally there's not a pirate cooking it, but this was a Saturday and he's one of the owners and he had to go to a parade and he cooked our breakfast. But, you know, funky little hostel kind of situation. I liked it. This is the first day of biking the southern tier, and this is the big hill for the day, and it's the only hill for the day. And you know what this is? This is crossing I-95. So it's really flat to start. It's really. Pardon? I probably just a little bit, but there was, I don't know, yeah, I went different speeds. I just started taking pictures of stuff that was different, made me feel like it's not winter in Rochester anymore. I had a lot of good weather. I'm sort of giving you a skewed view of this trip, I think, but anyway, enjoy it. This is the St. John's River, which looks like a lake, but it's really big. It's one of the, well, no, it is the largest river in Florida, 300 miles long. Starts south of the middle of the state, flows north, and Jacksonville's sort of the end of it. The marsh that it starts in is 30 feet above sea level, so 300 miles, 30 feet drop. That's pretty flat. I made it to a campground 42 miles later. And Gretchen, I wanted to go further, but I got a late start out of St. Augustine. Gretchen recommended against this campground because she said it had a really scummy shower, which was kind of true. But it was really good I came here because this guy, Jim Brothers, had just finished writing the Southern Tier. So he's just finishing, I'm just starting, and he's a wealth of information about what's out there. He actually was here the night before, and this day went to the Atlantic Ocean, looked around St. Augustine, couldn't find a place to stay, so came back here. But not only him, these two guys are from England, and they're starting the Southern Tier. And this guy, Peter Hardy, is from California, and he's starting the Southern Tier. He is a firefighter, a forest firefighter, and this is his off-season. He has to get back he's on a time limit himself. But we're all kind of new at this. Well, the English guys have been on some long tours before, but anyway, we all hang out with Jim Brothers and grill him, really. And he's willingly, he has a list of everywhere he stayed and what was good about it and bad about it. So that was a great way to start. And I ended up hanging out with these guys, or at least at night, because we ended up at the same place, it seemed, often, for the next few days. So I thought I was biking alone, but hey, things happen. Okay, this is what lunch looked like a lot for me. I'm 2 miles from the campground. I got another late start, and I had to eat lunch. And oh yeah, this is also the day that daylight savings time started, so the clock, I lost an hour, which I didn't like, because I'm already running late. But here I'm crossing the St. John River. There's a crossing on that big river at one point. And so there's a power plant and a paper mill. And I don't know, it's a picture because there's water. When you take pictures of water, you have to do it right. There was a lot of traffic on the road I was on. I was glad to find that there was a bike route. This was not on the map. This was new. So I did parallel the road, and whoops. So it's a Sunday afternoon, and a lot of other people are out, and so I got car-free 11 miles. And the flowers are coming out. So I'm doing this blog. I have to take some pictures of flowers to make the people envious of me, right? So, and then maybe I'll identify them. I think this was Carolina Jasmine. Somebody help me with that. And other unusual things. I've never seen this in New York. These buzzards pay no attention to me biking by. And I had never seen this before, and I didn't know for a week what it was. Somebody identified it. How many people know? 1, 2. It's mistletoe. That round stuff up in the tree. This just looked like another photo I had to take or something. It was Hawthorne, Florida. The mural was pretty, but then the other Americana stuff around it. Hawthorne's also the start of another rail trail, the adventure cycling route. This is 16 miles, taking you into Gainesville. So the rail trails end up looking the same, sort of a tunnel of trees, but tunnel trees with Spanish moss. And towards the end, there was this huge set of trees with Spanish moss. I had to stop, even though I'm running late. Sun's going down. I'm supposed to be at my warm shower host for the evening, but I stopped here. And I got to the warm shower house. They had already had dinner. They said, go use the kitchen, make whatever you want. So I mixed up my own little meal and sat with them, TV, talked. The husband signed up for warm showers because he's going on a bike ride. And leaving their house in the morning. This was a really long parade, like 10 minutes or more of motorcycles. They were just on a ride. The previous weekend was a bike week in Daytona. So I rode past them for a while and I said, this is ridiculous. And I got the picture. Okay, in the campground this night I'm with Guy and Steve from England. We're sharing the site. Peter is back in the pavilion. Peter didn't like tents. He as a firefighter would sleep out in the open. So he's back in the pavilion, and this is a private campground, but it's across from the Itchnatucky Springs State Park. And this is Peter at night, and I was just, he has all this stuff on 5 picnic tables, spread out, working on his bike. And I guess he's got to get it all back together again, right? But he does. This is the Itchnatucky head pool. This is in the morning, next morning. And some of the other guys went swimming the day before. I didn't get wet, but very pretty little natural area. So start riding. There's a lot of pine forestry, and so you see little fields of pine trees of all ages. And this is an old tobacco barn, I think, somebody told me. And some turkeys. And another campground. This is in the state park. This is Suwannee River State Park. And the Suwannee River is what Stephen Foster wrote a song about, but he called it Suwannee. And the description in the song doesn't match. He never actually got down here. He just used it in his song. But the Suwannee River drains out of Georgia and the swamps in Georgia. And I guess these are the high water marks above the river. And let's see, this is 2009 and this is 1948. And that's amazing to me. But so when it rains in Georgia, it rains, I guess. I see some flowers. This is limestone formation. There's some limestone sinks, and it's an interesting natural area. So I spent an hour walking around the nature trails in the morning. Getting back on the road, this is red clover, but it's very distinctively different than our red clover. So I thought I needed a picture. Ray Charles, who knew that? Very good. Have you been here? Oh, okay. This is Greenville, Florida, and there's a park right on the route that has this statue of him. And so I just checked it out. It was in the description that there's this park. Okay, let's take a look. The campground tonight is at a KOA. The only time I did that, they're not really set up for tenders. Actually, none of the RV parks are officially set up for tenders, but KOAs are almost set up not for tenders. They had me in some area that was just away from everything, a long walk from the bathrooms and just an open field, no picnic table. So I asked to be moved up, and they gave me permission. It got really cold this night, and windy, so it was nice to have these cabins to shelter me. There was almost nobody else in these cabins. Most everybody's in real RVs over in a whole other section. And that is I-10 in the background. In other words, it was noisy all night long. Very noisy. Trucks. But I slept okay. This is what I was looking at a lot during the day out my rear window for cars coming up. Oh, another rail trail. Okay, we're coming into Tallahassee, and the adventure cycling route sends you south of Tallahassee just to catch this 9-mile section of rail trail to go north. You could just take like the US 90 right into Tallahassee. It's busy, but it actually would save me about 20 miles. I followed the ACA map, just why not? I don't know. And it's certainly pleasant being on a carless path that's paved too. So this is that other hostel. This is the Bicycle House in Tallahassee, and it's maybe the idea of one person, but he's got a lot of people to help him. It's sort of a collective effort to help people fix their own bikes or fix up bikes to give away. So there's a university population that takes advantage of this and also helps out. You can just use their bike tools and fix your own bike. And there's a cafe, and they give classes. But sort of a hostel wannabe. The hostel had not yet been built. So you go in the spare room and just use the floor. That's what this is. But I got a shower, and it's a very friendly place. The next morning, Scott there is the head driving force, I think. We went out to the university. It was just a coffee shop at the university and had breakfast. This other guy, Scott, was from Alaska biking east, and so he had come a ways and told some stories. One of them I'll tell you right now. It might be useful for backpacking. And he ate a lot of ramen noodles. And so what he would do is buy a whole case of ramen noodles and crunch them up. And that way they take up a whole lot less room in your bag. And not only that, they're easier to eat when they're already pre-crunched up. So I actually tried that. It's okay. Yeah. 200 miles to Pensacola, that's the end of Florida. This is the lunch at Chattahoochee. All right, get to remember all these names, which is right next to the Apalachicola River Valley, which is a major drainage of all of western Georgia, even as far north as where the Appalachian Trail starts. So that's kind of neat. But also neat was I'm crossing a time zone. At this point in Florida, you are directly south of Indiana, so you are the eastern end, or the western end of the eastern time zone. And this was good because the sun was getting up at 10 minutes to 8, which I didn't like at all. I'm following the sun with my sleep, and it was too late. So now the sun's getting up at 10 minutes to 7. Yeah, you say, okay, what does that mean? And it's the name of a town, and it's only 3 or 4 houses. The story is there was a guy there that traded things in eggs, and a lot of things were 2 egg. And I don't know about why it's not plural, but it was 2 egg. And there's a website for 2 egg, and there's a Wikipedia entry, so you can look it up. Okay, another campground. An RV campground where they call this in their campground map the Turtle Pond, but it's really just a scummy lagoon. Here I'm using my alcohol stove, and they're kind of pleasant. They're artificial, natural settings, I guess, and it works. You get a shower. I had a shower every night except once on this trip, and I don't think you get that hiking the Appalachian Trail. So this was in the morning. Nice little views here. This is a typical. Okay, so there's a lot of convenience stores on this route, and they do have little delis. Everything is fried, almost everything. They had one thing that wasn't fried, that was the green beans. Oh, all right, I'm a vegetarian, I like vegetables. So I got that, and this is fried okra. I never had fried okra. I couldn't tell you it was, I could tell you it's fried, I couldn't tell you it was okra. And the beans had bacon in it, but it didn't matter. I ate pepperoni pizza. Whoops. Another crazy sign. These towns have claims to fame. This is where you pound a stake into the ground, and the worms don't like it or something. They come up, and then you get them and go fishing. So some people might think it's cruel. I don't know. But if you're fishing, you're using worms for bait all the time. And we're getting many days into the ride. I haven't seen church signs since the beginning, and I just thought, I'm going to record this or something. So probably on the whole trip, average 1 per mile. But they came in clusters. A sign for some little church. They're all over the place. And the adventure cycling route is following the little country road, so it's just interesting. There's probably maybe just 6 or 12 people at these churches that exist. All right, this is Lake Defuniak in Defuniak Springs, Florida, and it is it's an unusual lake because it's round and spring-fed, and the website says there's only 2 of them in the world. This is one. I don't know. There was originally, in the 19th century, it was a hub for railroads, but there was a big Chautauqua community there. And there's a lot of historic buildings. And it was raining when I got there, so I didn't get to look at the historic buildings. I found a motel. And the next morning, it was seriously raining. And the weather forecast was bad all day. I soon booked for the second night. And the woman took me up to the supermarket, and I bought some food so I can kind of hunker down. and I watched TV, and the Weather Channel was getting interrupted with warnings, tornado warnings. And back when it gets to the Weather Channel, they're showing the radar where the little wisps of the tornadoes might be, and they were actually pretty close. And this is a pretty flimsy little motel. So, I don't know. I had a bike helmet, and there's the shower. And so, I don't know. It cleared up in the afternoon, and I went out on a little expedition into town. And first people there's a nice hotel in downtown Definiak Springs. Frank and Susan were doing a ride across the country, my direction. It was for their church. It was a charity ride, some cause for their church. And I heard they were there. I tracked them down. So we met. I ended up seeing them many days, spending some other nights with them. This is the first time they had ever done anything like this. They took a class from Adventure Cycling, a week-long class on how to do this. So they were actually outfitted they had all the correct stuff. You know. Their equipment was a lot of new stuff. But anyway, I followed their blog. They did make it all the way to the Pacific Ocean. That's kind of neat. And this was my dinner. I guess you're not supposed to cook pizza in a microwave. I didn't have that alternative. It does melt the cheese. And I went to the dollar store, I think, to buy a fingernail clipper. And this is the day before St. Patrick's Day. So these cost $1. And they were right at the checkout counter. I just said, okay. This is that motel. Yeah. Next morning, this is St. Patrick's Day. I'm not wearing green. Instead, I'm kind of looking like Superman, I think. I have my rain gear. I didn't really perfect it. I didn't really want to buy expensive rain gear. This is a $7 poncho with some reflective tape added, and it's bungee cord around my waist. It actually worked really good. You don't get sweaty. The rain comes off you. I just did a ride last month. I packed the same thing. So a train, there's often a train track close to this route because it's US 90. It's sort of an old corridor. And, well, I like trains. But the interesting thing was when a train is going in your direction, even if it's like 100 feet away, it causes a big enough draft that you gain several mile-per-hour speed. It's kind of cool. This brick path was what the adventure cycling people wanted you to take, and it gradually gets further and further away from the road. I did about 100 feet of it and decided I'll go to the shoulder of the regular road. And this is coming into Pensacola, crossing Escambia Bay. It's rush hour. I have done like 70, 80 miles this day because I left not knowing if I'd make it to Pensacola. And the warm shower person was good with that. I thought I might get stopped by bad rain, but I just kept on going. And so it's getting late in the day. My warm shower host is 5 miles off the route up that hill there. I have to cross. There's some construction, the road swerves, metal plates, no shoulder. I get to the warm shower. She doesn't supply food. I didn't bring food, so ordered pizza, some of which was lunch the next day. And then next day, you're following what they call the scenic highway. And there was this over-the-top house, I guess. I don't know. This is actually a stitched panorama. I figure this much of looking at that, you know. This is crossing I-10, which also parallels my route. And the guy in the middle with the beard is George. So I'm going to show you pictures of the other people I met, just because I think it's kind of interesting perspective of bicycling. So I had been following George's ride for many weeks. After even researching this trip, I kept on looking at the blogs of people starting this route, knew who was coming my way, and the people that were ahead of me, maybe I'll catch up with them. So George was riding from Texas, and he started off with this super long trailer. It was ridiculous. But he's kind of going slow. He's going to try to do a good part of the country. And I see him coming, and I cross over the road, and from about 20 feet away, I say, "George!" And he almost falls off his bike, because who would know that he is George out there? And I introduce myself and tell him I was following his blog, and he apparently wasn't following my blog. And then Frank and Susan come by, and we have this little biking convention and talk about what's going on. It's kind of fun. Crossing one of those bridges, picture of the water. This was about a half mile off the route. I'm always looking for lunch, some park or some place to have a pleasant little lunch. And sometimes you have to really search. This was a county park, and had to go to the far end of it to get to the pier. But it's worth it. Sunny day, nice sparkly water. I think this is called Perito Key. So we're past Pensacola, but we're still in Florida, and this goes into Alabama, these high rises along the ocean. But I do get a picture, finally, of the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't get many views of it, but this is one. All right, we left Florida. Let's see. All right. 2 nights in Alabama, 2 nights in Mississippi, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nights in Louisiana. In Alabama, you have to go around this Mobile Bay, or the official route is to cut across this. You go out on a peninsula. There's a ferry to an island called Dauphin Island, and then there's a long 3.5-mile bridge to get you back to the mainland. That's the nice way to go. The ferry often doesn't run, so they suggest calling to make sure it's running. If it breaks down, there's bad weather. I was going on a good day. I just missed it and went out on the peninsula. Obviously, if you're going the other way and then you bike all the way down to here, across this kind of crazy bridge, you'll see this. And it's a 40-mile thing to go around the other way, so you hope the ferry's running. Staying in campgrounds here, going through the National Forest, and crossing the Mississippi here. Let's see. So you cross the state line, you have to get your picture taken, I guess. I upheld that rule. And the guy doing it was working on the signal box right next to it, and we talked for a while. He was very interested in my endeavor here. So it's kind of a man-made landscape here. More of these high rises. I come to a campground. Actually, I stopped at a state campground in Georgia that some people I met at a supermarket invited me to stay at their campsite, but the campground people wouldn't let me stay with them. It says that's against the regulations. So I had to bike a little further and go to a private RV park. And I got a shower. This one's right underneath one of those intercoastal waterway bridges, so it was noisy all night when I slept. And the people that ran the RV park, I couldn't find them in the night. In the morning, they said, forget it, you're good. No, don't need to pay anything. So I guess that's all right. This is the waterway, and there's the RV park right underneath the bridge here. Yeah. So there were sirens and all kinds of stuff. It's also, there was spring break going on. So there's a lot of college kids in this area. Anyway. So going out on that little peninsula, the adventure cycling has you go out on this nice little trail. Well, it's bumpy, it winds, and there's pedestrian or runners and things. So, I go on the road. This is the little road. There's hardly any traffic on it because it dead ends at the ferry. And about the alligators, there are, that was something that you kind of worry about. There's 1 million alligators in Florida. There's 1 million alligators in Louisiana. And I took it kind of like, I think Bill Bryson was worried about bears in the Appalachians. Things don't normally happen. In the Everglades, there's much, I've seen pictures of them just hanging out by the side of the road like they could easily pounce on a bicyclist, but I don't hear of it happening. So this is riding out that peninsula. This is Mobile Bay looking north. And you can't really see the Gulf. There's these stilted houses out there. We get to the ferry. Frank and Susan are ahead of me. You see them again. So ferry ride, that's a fun thing to do. Ferry birds. The other side, it's lunchtime, so I never know when I'm not going to see some people again, so I took another picture. I thought this was cute. This was Steve Wiesma, and I have been following his blog for quite a while. He's from Colorado. He's doing the Southern Tier, so he's just got pretty much Florida to do. He's 80% done. He's riding with another guy, but they don't see each other during the day. They just hang out together at night. He actually ended up he ended up doing a couple 90-mile days just to get the whole thing over with. He was pretty beat by the whole thing. This is that bridge that gets you off the island. This is from the top of the hump looking back to the island, and this is looking towards the mainland. There was some dolphin activity out there. This is that bridge. When I got to the campsite at night, I told the guy that I went over this. He said, "You went over that? I get scared going over there in a car." This little guy is like 1.5 inches long, and he was headed the wrong way. And, well, as a bicyclist, you see a lot of animals at risk. And this particular bird, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I have been trying to take a picture of it. I finally got a picture of one of these kinds of birds. As soon as I get my camera out, they're gone. They're flying. Bayou La Batra, Alabama. 10 miles to my campsite, and I have to go down this road, and it's getting late in the day. There was traffic, two-way traffic. I had to ride in the road. Is not bike friendly. Next day, state crossing. The road into Mississippi was immediately poor quality, slower. I wasn't happy. The rivers were flooded from that big rainstorm that almost got me. So I call it a 39-mile day at this sad resort. And it is sad because I think this is another one Berch recommended me not stay at. But their water pump was broken. So there's no water. This is the one time I didn't get a shower. And they didn't charge me anything, which is okay. It's okay. They had actually a nice octagon house above the lagoon, which looks nice here, but if you get down to it, it's pretty scummy. But we made do, and Frank and Susan showed up. So, okay. And the next morning they took off, and I thought this might be the last picture I have of them. So I took a picture. And you see they are dressed totally properly for the you can buy those triangles at Adventure Cycling. They're actually a good idea, those safety triangles. This is the picture I took. Okay, I met up with Frank and Susan out of town, and we were just talking. We went down the road here. We were supposed to turn left. We went 5 miles, and I looked at the map and I realized our mistake and apologized. I felt it was my fault because I was talking to them. So I was going to bicycle back. They had a GPS and they thought they had a way to go to continue on. I never saw them again, but I do know they finished their ride. So I came back here and took the picture. So going through the national forest, there's bike trails, but for mountain bikes. And this is the forest, and it's a good weather day. This day, the second day in Mississippi, I was a lot happier. This was a national forest campground that I intended to stay at the day before, but it's noon, so I have to keep on going. Interesting, I guess there's like donkeys or something. And the horse farm. Okay, I am crossing this road. This is looking north. If I needed to go into town, I would have to go down this. I didn't need to go into town, so I didn't, because it would have been a bunch of work to come back. But there are hills in northern Florida. And this is my campsite for the night, and this, I think, is day 16, and because I went out of my way for 5 miles, it was an 82-mile day instead of a 72-mile day, so that was my record at the time. And it's also, I think the odometer was 799 miles, so I am halfway done with my ride. So the RV park, he puts me in the far corner, which is fine because there's a pavilion. I can set up the tent, which is a freestanding tent, so I can put it up anywhere. And no dew on it, and it ends up clean in the morning. I like that. Went out for Chinese food and had a very good fortune. Can you read that? A goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. Wow. All right. View on Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana. Oh, this is the view from the bridge. This was a lunch spot. Again, I try to find the state park. They're not on the ACA maps. I think they should be. These had been on the road since the very beginning. I don't know exactly, maybe somebody can explain why torn up Mardi Gras beads are strewn along the road everywhere. I mean, I can see whole beads. People, unless cars roll over them, but there's just partial bead sets all over the place. I thought this was kind of artistic, so I took the picture. And my campground for this night is strange because there's absolutely nobody there. I called the number. The guy said, "I'll meet you at the gate." He lets me in, and there's nobody in his campground. It turns out he and his brother own the hardware store in town and own this land and a campground. But it's only used 1 week a year for the county fair, or it's actually the parish. They paid for it that 1 week, and the rest of the year, he just hosts bicyclists because he likes to. So he said I can set up anywhere, or I can go in this little house that they have, which has bunk beds and a bathroom, and it might rain tonight, so I go in there, and he doesn't want any money to stay in this campground. Nice. I talked to the guy for 20 minutes, too. So it's something that seemed to happen over and over again. People are being very nice to bicyclists in sort of an unexplainable way. Mexican restaurant in town that night. Next day, some wisteria flowers. And I found a good string of Mardi Gras beads and decorated sporty, but I also, my computer broke. I had to go to Walmart and buy a computer. I got a new light also, so this is the latest. I didn't normally have the light, light on, but this is the new sporty. So this is the rock I carried for most of the day, and for several days I had a rock in my hand. The big negative of the southern tier in Mississippi and Texas is the dogs that will chase you, and they're very annoying. Towards the end, I worked various strategies with them. It was kind of a game for them in some ways. And it became sort of a game for me as long as it didn't look too dangerous. I had to squirt one with some spray once, which I missed. I threw the rocks a few times, always kept a few spares in my handlebar bag. It's kind of too bad because it is distracting and it's actually, you get anxious about the dogs. There was one dog that attacked me enough I had to jump off my bike and put it between me and the dog. And the owner was right there on the front porch, like 30 feet away, yelling at the dog, but the dog didn't. Well, she was a nursing female dog, so. Yeah, I tried various things, mostly yelling at the dog. Sometimes I said, good dog, you know, I don't know, it was, try to psych them out. But the other thing I learned is you can, well, the reason I had, somebody told me this, that UPS drivers, they tell them, at least down there, that you do these deliveries to houses and nobody's home, the dog might just start attacking you. So the UPS drivers will just reach down to the ground and you don't have to get a rock, you just have to pretend you're going to get a rock to throw it at them. And you cock your arm and the dog will go away. All right, so I started working on that theory, which worked. It seems to work better for the bigger dogs. The little dogs are just too stupid to do anything. All right, we're starting to get into some cattle country, which by Texas would really take over. And I ate a lot of pizza, and this Hunt Brothers pizza was in all the convenience stores. So, I don't know. Flowering thistles. All right, this is a warm shower place, Perry Templeton's warm shower place. And if you do the Southern Tier, you should go there. Because she's been a warm shower person since before it was computerized. When it was done by paper, you would send letters or postcards to people you wanted. You had a printed list. This is back in the 90s. She has had well over 1,000 people stay with her. She gets Christmas cards from all around the world, no idea who they are. And I knew when I emailed her a few days ahead, hey, I'm coming by, she gave me a very nonchalant reply, yeah, just stop by. And then when it looked like I was going to be a day different, I emailed her and she said, no problem, just show up. And she knows that that's what happens on bicycle trips. So she's at home, as long as they're there, you know, just come on by. She has a big yard. I got to stay in her little trailer. She has beds inside for you. She cooked wonderful dinner. She has 2 outdoor showers, perfect temperature. It's point of use propane heaters. No need to adjust the temperature. Nice yard, birds, flowers, and there she is. Just some signs of the culture down there. I thought leaving her house, I'm really close to the Mississippi River. I thought that's the next thing, but I ran into these guys. These are 4 people on college break, and they've been biking from Houston to Baton Rouge, which means this is their last day. 2 of them are from England, 2 of them are from Houston. They're having a great time. They had not seen any other bicyclists on their whole ride, and I'm seeing bicyclists like every other day. And they later emailed me for a better copy of this photo that was in my blog because they forgot to take a photo of themselves. And I certainly gave it to them. This is the John James Audubon Bridge over the Mississippi River. It's built in 2011. Before that, you took a ferry. So this is the new bridge and the Mississippi River. It's a big deal. Also, at this point, the Mississippi, this is starting the 3rd map of those 4 maps that I'm following. I didn't tell you where the first, but that's, you kind of make these little important things. I change a map crossing the Mississippi. The leaves are coming out. Large. First big town is Point Coupee, and I had to ask at the supermarket, how do you say that? And leaving the supermarket, I start following the False River. And I should not have been following the False River. The Falls River is an oxbow. It heads out of town to the west, but then it turns to the south, and I knew what's going on here. I had taken the wrong turn in town, so I had to bike back an extra, I went 5 miles before I realized this. And this is it's flat. There was rolling hills on the east side of the Mississippi. The west side is totally flat. And I'm also following the Mississippi River Trail, which goes all the way to Minneapolis. Campsite in the RV park. Nice sunset that night. And again, I didn't know much about crickets or shiners, but I saw them in the local store. All right, so it's very flat, but there's these levees that you're following. The Corps of Engineers have done all kinds of stuff here. And as you see, you're not allowed to go up on them or anything. You have to kind of stay below. But I couldn't help it. I needed to see so what's over there is off on the left, another oxbow. We're several miles from the Mississippi. But, and this is the big hill for the day. Let's see if I get this right. It's the Falaya. Yeah, okay, very good. River, which is a parallel drainage to the Mississippi down there. The Corps of Engineers gets to control it a little bit. It used to be the Red River drainage, but then over centuries it's been partly the Mississippi. And anyway, it's a big river. And this bridge was kind of scary because it's very humped at the top. No visibility. There's no shoulder up there. But it doesn't take too long to get over. It worked out. This fellow is Sam. He's from London, England. He's biking to Miami. He's not carrying much. He's staying at inns and motels. I thought that was interesting. And this fellow is only an hour behind him. He's from San Jose, California. He started in El Paso, and he's headed to St. Augustine. So he's doing 2/3 of the southern tier. He has no idea that this other fellow is just an hour in front of him. Maybe they met. I don't know. Some nice oak trees. And this is a unique little place that is in the warm shower list. Bunkie Firehouse. Somebody on the fire crew bought a carbon fiber bike and heard about warm showers, thought it would be interesting to sign up. Not that he's going to go on any kind of trip. So the bicyclist comes through, they like to hear our stories. So I showed up here, and the email that I got from him was, if nobody's home, if nobody's here, just make yourself at home. Okay, so I parked the bike, I needed to use the bathroom. Okay, I find the kitchen, I find the bunk room, I find the office, which is locked, that makes sense. I look all around the garage here, and I do it all again. I can't find the bathroom, that doesn't make any sense. There's one door left. It has a big cautionary, authorized persons only sign on it. I said, no. Okay, I try the handle, it's unlocked, I push it open, the lights go on, it is the bathroom. So, and it's an industrial sized bathroom for firemen. I mean, huge triple basins to wash in, and huge tiled showers, great water pressure. So I take my shower and everything, and an hour later they come and we're talking, and he says, "Oh, by the way, did you find the bathroom?" I said, "Yeah," and he laughed. So every town is famous for something, and I got that here. Okay, when I sent this guy the picture of himself, he said, "Oh, that's scary." But he's on a 5-month-long tour around the United States. He's on his 3rd week. This is a famous town for music, but in the middle of the day, nothing going on. And there were, it's very flat. There's a lot of these paddies that I found out were growing rice, soybeans, and crawfish in rotation. And I watched this airplane do these loopy, low-altitude flights, these great, it's called chandelles at the end. It was just kind of neat. Oberlin, Louisiana, I stayed in a motel here. And it's a $40 motel, as was the other one. No heat, they gave me a space heater. The railroad track goes right in front of the hotel and crossing Main Street, which means it blows its whistle whenever the train comes by. Not a great thing for a motel, but Oberlin was a really booming lumber town back until the 30s when they ran out of lumber. And this is the courthouse. It reflects the era when things were better. But the lumbering is actually coming back. So lots of forests and non-forests. And there were several companies that would take you on canoe rides down some of the local rivers. I had to find out why is called why. And it goes back to the lumbering days. Because right now it's a crossroads. That's according to the woman at the Super Y. This is a funky little RV park. The sign just seems, this is a little different. It only had space for about 12 RVs. It's kind of like a hobby RV park for the person who's living there. They built this TP sleeps too. I stayed in the main building, a smaller bedroom, and got to use the kitchen in the other room. They had this zoo of animals, so let's see, these are the ponies and a cat, a donkey, an alpaca. I think there were 2 of each, but I only got these. And then some ducks. Misty morning leaving this town. I think this is my last town in Louisiana. So when the logging trucks go by, they actually smell like pine because of the moisture, maybe. But the logging trucks are everywhere. They're going all directions, both empty and full, because there's many different lumber mills. So, and it wasn't a bad thing. You get a little, like from the train, a suck from a truck when it goes by. So, try to enjoy it. All right, last state, Texas, and not too many days here. Warm shower. These 2 purple dots are very special places. If you do this ride, I would recommend them. You'll see. 2 public campgrounds, and this is my friend in Austin. That was as far as I was officially biking, although I did bike around in Austin a little bit. Crossing into Texas, there's a guy riding towards me. I thought he's Okay, I see. Okay. So, yes, it's gone over. Sorry. So John is actually riding with me, and I ride with him for several days. So Texas is different because, well, crossing into Texas, you see there's a 70 mile per hour on a 2-lane road, and then it turns into 4-lane, but and sometimes the shoulders are so big you think a car could mistake it for a lane. So there was a little worry there. See, this is a warm shower guy. These are some other folks I met. And Texas has 2 distinctive flowers, the Indian paintbrush and the blue bonnets, Texas blue bonnets, that are in flower this time of year. Some of them are seeded, but a lot of them are just wild. On Saturday, stopping in a museum. Okay, this is the Shepherd Sanctuary. This is a special place. It's a party or a wedding kind of place. You can do conferences here. And she puts up bicyclists just to kind of give added color to the place, I think, because charges us $20 a night for really kind of cool digs. Stuff all over the place. Outdoor showers, baths. This is the shower I took, and it's really a piece of, you're like taking a shower in a piece of art. So this is the proprietor, and had a fire ring at night, and we hang out with some of the other non-bicyclists. There's another bicyclist who I hooked up with, Brian here, and I rode with him the next day. We're going into the Sam Houston National Forest, and John catches up. And this is the other special place, the checkpoint. It was a motorcycle ranch, but the guy now does mostly bicycles, I guess. And $15 a night, has a swimming pool. This is Ernie and his wife Doris. So I leave my friends here. They try to make Austin in 2 days. And more crazy Texas highway signs. And this is the one that really confirmed my fears. That I have to watch it in Texas. All right, blue bonnets, cactus, things are getting drier. This guy's from British Columbia, headed east for a week. This convenience store guy keeps a log of the bicycle. He really liked to talk to us. This is one of my last nights at a public campground. It's a Corps of Engineer campground for this big Somerville reservoir. And it was spooky. It was a huge campground, very run down, and only one other person in it. Some iconic Texas things were visible. It used to be cotton country, and there were many versions of cotton gins. Oil wells. Okay, this antique fair thing was, I didn't know about this. This was the bad day. 15 miles of this. 10,000 people come to this thing the last 3 weeks. This is a section where the traffic's actually going slow because there's a lot of these things, but there's other spaces, and there's a lot of hills here. I was totally stressed out this day. This guy stops me and wants to just talk to me and gives me $10. I told him no, but I couldn't. Again, sort of like trail magic things. These people, I was bummed out at this convenience station and store. I'm trying to find a place to stay. These guys had started in California, biking west. They were going to go up the Atlantic coast, hike the Appalachian Trail southbound. And I realized that, first off, they'd just come from the west, so they had seen much more than me. And they told me the road ahead was really good. So I continued on, found the campsite for the night, which is my last night before seeing my friend. And, this is, the camp, this is the biggest fire in Texas's history up on the ridge, the Bastrop fire. And so, back in 2011. Fall off the ridge into Bastrop, and this is the last mile to my friend's house, and I had a tailwind, and there we are. So, I have more, but I guess we're over time, so it's on my blog. We can talk down here if we have to get out of here, or I appreciate it. Okay, great. Thanks for coming.